Here. Here. Dr. Moser. Here. Dr. Strasser. Mrs. Waldron.
Here.
Dr. Weaver.
Here.
Mrs. Rance.
Here. This evening, we have with us Isol Lefchek. Her parents are Joseph and Shannon Lefchek. Her teacher is Mrs. Martz, and she is the December Student of the Month. She's from James Bacher Elementary. Would you please all stand and join her? Pledge of the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, Hazel. Congratulations. Thank you for being here. Here's a certificate. Remember tonight. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Sorry.
Next on our agenda this evening is election of a temporary president. Don't mean to be yelling, but understand we don't have sound, so hoping everyone can hear. I'd like to recommend election of a temporary president to conduct the election of officers.
I'd like to make a motion for Dr. Weaver.
There's a motion for Dr. Weaver. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Signify yes.
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 Okay. Great. Dr. Weaver, would you like to sit here? No? Okay.
Item number 5 is the reading of the certificates of election.
And I have those. So at this time, I'll read the certificate of election for all of the newly elected and re-elected board members. First is Mr. Joel Harris. For the County Board of Elections, Northumberland County, Sunbury, PA, the certificate of election. We, the undersigned members of the County Board of Elections of the Northumberland County, hereby certify that after tabulating the votes cast at the general election held on the 7th day of November 2023 in said county, it appears that Joel Harris is duly elected to the office of School Director, Milton School District, Region 1, County of Northumberland, PA. For Eric Moser, County Board of Elections, Northumberland County, certificate of election. We, the undersigned members of the County Board of Elections of Northumberland County, hereby certify that after tabulating the votes cast at the general election held on the 7th day of November 2023 in said county, it appears that Eric D. Moser is duly elected to the office of School Director, Milton School District, Region 3. For Kevin Fry, certificate of election, we, the undersigned members of the County Board of Elections of Northumberland County, hereby certify that after tabulating the votes cast at the general election held on the 7th day of November 2023 in said county, it appears that Kevin R. Fry is duly elected to the office of School Director, Milton School District, Region 3. Christine Rance, certificate of election. We, the undersigned members of the County Board of Elections of Northumberland County, hereby certify that after tabulating the votes cast at the general election held on the 7th day of November 2023 in said county, it appears that Christine Rance is duly elected to the office of School Director, Milton School District, Region 2. And finally, Amy Waldron, certificate of election. We, the undersigned members of the County Board of Elections of Northumberland County, hereby certify that after tabulating the votes cast at the general election held on the 7th day of November 2023 in said county, it appears that Amy Waldron is duly elected to the office of School Director, Milton School District, Region 2. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Item number 6, oath of office for elected, re-elected board members.
We got sound.
Yeah, you want to have them stand. So, so the newly elected and the re-elected board members will stand, and then you'll repeat after Ms. Catherine as she reads the.
Okay, just want to say I, followed by your name.
I,
Having been elected to the office of school director for the Milton Area School District, Northumberland and Union Counties,
Milton area school districts, Northumberland and Union Counties,
the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
Commonwealth.
do solemnly affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
Solemnly.
I will obey the States,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Now I'm going to have everybody sign as the notary. And these
That's all right. Thank you.
All right, moving on to 7, election of officers. 7.1 is election of president. Do we have nominations for president?
This time I'd like to nominate Christine Rance for president.
Rance, is there a second?
I second that.
This time I'd like to nominate Brett Hosterman as president.
Nomination for Hosterman, is there a second?
Second.
Nomination and a second. Any additional nominations? All right, in front of you, you should have slip. And what you will do is complete the slip. We will submit those to our secretary for the vote.
Either pass them down. That would be okay. At this time, I will read aloud the votes that were cast and who they were cast by. The first vote was made by Christine Rance, and she voted for Christine Rance. The second vote was cast by Dr. Weaver, and his candidate was Christine Rance. The third vote was Brett Hosterman, and his vote was for Hosterman. Next vote was by Joel Harris, and his vote was for Hosterman. Next vote was cast by Dr. Strasser, and it was for Hosterman. The next vote was cast by Mr. Hunt, and that was for Hosterman. Amy Waldron voted for Hosterman. Fry voted for Rance. And finally, Moser voted for Rance. So with those tallied, it's 5 votes for Hosterman as president and 4 votes for Mrs. Rance.
Item 7.2, I'd like to make a motion to recommend returning control of the meeting to the newly elected president. There a second?
Second.
Second by Harris. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, board. Appreciate your support on that. Separated to item number 3, election of a vice president. I'd like to open the floor up for nominations for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Alvin Weaver.
Time.
Let's say that again, sorry.
Alvin Weaver.
Alvin Weaver. Second.
Second.
Joel Harris.
Second.
Alvin Weaver and Joe Harris nominated. Any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, we'll do the same process as before with the slip of paper in front of you.
Having received the votes, the first vote is from Mr. Hosterman, and his candidate is Mr. Harris. Second vote cast by Mr. Harris was for Harris. The third was from Dr. Strasser, and that was for Harris. Fourth was from Mr. Hunt, and that was also for Harris. Next was Christine Rance, and her vote was for Alvin Weaver. Alvin Weaver voted for Alvin Weaver. Amy Waldron also voted for Alvin Weaver. Mr. Fry voted for Weaver. And the final vote cast was by Eric Moser for Alvin Weaver. Weaver received 5 votes to Harris's 4.
Congratulations, Dr. Weaver.
Thank you, board.
All right, moving on to the executive report, item 8.1, approval of the 2024 Board of Education meeting schedule, which is in your packet. Any questions about that schedule? Looks like it's the same as previous years.
Yeah, we did add February 6th as a budget meeting. That was something last year we did. We chose to add a meeting, but we wanted to document it in there that is, completely focused on budget that evening, not that January 9th and February 13th. Other dates won't be focused on budget, but just really identifying that. We have our if needed meetings that seemed to work this year, being that we didn't need them. Any questions on that?
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Voice vote, okay for this one? All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I'd like to make a motion for.
Can I just make one comment before we adjourn? I think that's where we're going. I think it's important, these are big moments in a school district. We're very excited. We just, elected our new members to our board, having Mrs. Waldron and Mr. Fry part of the team now. Again, a special thank you to Ms. Kessler and Mr. Frederick for their years of service. I'd be remiss for not thanking, Andy for his years of service as vice president, Mrs. Rance for her service as president. Always important. I think it's from the leadership team. I think very excited, Mr. Hosterman, Dr. Weaver to be, our team to be working with you as president, vice president, and continuing to move us forward. Very excited and move to the next stage of our meeting.
And I actually, if I could jump into just a few points of order to wrap up the meeting as well. We do want to just read aloud the board members as of today. That was something that we learned that we should be doing at the reorg meeting. So we're going to make sure that we do that so the public can just hear aloud the names of the board members. So newly elected Kevin Fry and Amy Waldron, re-elected Joel Harris, Eric Moser, Christine Rance, and holdover members Brett Hosterman, Josh Hunt, Steph Strasser, and Alden Weaver. And then finally, Mr. Hosterman, I'm going to give you the committee's assignment sheet. So if you can just see that gets worked on and returned to Mrs. Ettinger when you have a chance, that'd be great.
And with that, I think for the board looking at that, the committees, we're going to have a discussion moving us forward. For many of you, I've talked a little bit about our committees becoming some of our workforce, some more work sessions that's similar to what we've done with the facilities committee. So, you know, Mr. Hosterman, Dr. Weaver, three of us will work together. Previously, we had two chairs, two committee members. Looking at the amount of time and effort, my concern would be having that many members on a committee. It does give the president the ability to be part of all committees then. So we'll have that conversation. If we choose to come back and say we want two chair people and two committee members, we can do that. My recommendation at this time, based on the work session model, would be trying to get each board member part of two committees. That way we're spreading the wealth and working together. But similar to last year, put your interest, let Mr. Hosterman and Dr. Weaver know, and we'll go from there. Thanks.
Questions on that? All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor signify aye. Aye. Great, if you just give us a moment, switch gears into our business meeting for the
And
Should wait until 7.
start early.
Probably 7:15. Gonna go.
We'll resume at 7:30.
7:30. So 7:30.
Yeah, you're right. I thought it was first year.
Call the meeting to order of the Milton Area Board of Education for December 5th, 2023. Before we get started, we just exited an executive session where we talked about personnel issues, labor relations, and matters that must be conducted in private to protect lawful and privileged confidentiality. Secretary, roll call, please.
Could we have a motion to end the executive session? Just so.
Sure. Can we have a motion to end the executive session?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Hosterman?
Here.
Mr. Hunt?
Here.
Mr. Moser?
Here.
Dr. Strasser?
Here.
Mrs. Waldron?
Here.
Dr. Weaver?
Here.
Mrs. Rance?
Here.
Thank you.
Please join me one more time for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Thank you. We'll start this evening with presentations and comments from visitors. High school student recognition. Mr. Berge.
Good evening, board. Tonight I have the privilege of introducing our Rotary Student of the Month for the month of December, Mr. Braden Gogler. Braden resides with his family here in Milton. His parents are Mr. Brad and Mrs. Gretchen Gogler. Braden, before I get into this, I preface this specifically with Braden to make sure that he brags about himself. Take an opportunity to tell us all about what he does, his acknowledgments and accomplishments, because this is kind of special. It's kind of important. And here's what I got, and this will speak volumes as the young man that Braden is. So he's involved in football, track and field. He's a member of the National Honor Society and the National Technical Honor Society. He is also on the Distinguished Honor Roll. He's currently undecided as to which college he's going to attend, but he does want to major in criminal justice and become a police officer. I asked him to brag about himself. There's a lot more to Braden than what he put in here, but he is a humble young man. He's an exemplary young individual in our building. I was able to get a few words from his criminal justice instructor, Mr. Davis, and he had these things to say about Braden. Mr. Davis is I'm Mr. Davis. I'm his criminal justice teacher, and I'd like to say a few words about Braden. He would like to apologize, first of all, for not being here tonight because they had a girls' basketball game, so he wanted to be here for Braden and for his family, but unfortunately, a game got rescheduled, so he wasn't able to be here. So Braden is a senior in my criminal justice 3 class. He has been with me since his sophomore year. He is an excellent student who takes great pride in his classwork and his dedication to do his very best every day. Braden is a member of the varsity football and track and field teams. He is also a member of the National Technical Honor Society and the National Honor Society. He's currently exploring his options for post-secondary plans, but plans on attending college. He volunteers his time above and beyond what is expected of him, all the while maintaining extremely high academic standards. Braden has become one of the leaders in my classroom and is always willing to take on whatever task is asked of him. It is my pleasure to announce to the board Braden Gogler as the Rotary Student of the Month for the month of December. Congratulations, Braden. Our outstanding senior for the month of December is Miss Leah Willow. Leah's parents are Mr. Matthew and Mrs. Angela Willow, and they reside here in Milton. Her activities include 2024 Senior Class President. She is on the Class Executive Board and Prom Committees. She's a member of the Student Council, National Art Honor Society, National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, and Future Business Leaders of America. She is the secretary for Team Cambodia, and she participates in soccer and track and field. Some of her awards include she's a 2023 Homecoming Queen. She's the runner-up of the 2023 Harvest Festival Princess Pageant, and she got 4th place for the Business Communications at FBLA Regionals. She's currently undecided as to where she would like to go to school, but she would like to major in marine biology. Leah is an outstanding young lady, and the smile that you see before here is what everybody gets to experience every day when they pass her in the hall. She is an absolute pleasure to get to know, to have in class, to talk with. She's an incredible teammate. And with that in mind, Coach Harris, one of her coaches, has a couple words that he would like to say about Leah.
Thank you, Mr. Berge. So all those things you just heard about Leah, she even finds time to still play 2 sports. Leah is an absolute wonderful young woman. She is great to have on both the girls soccer team and track and field team. She makes our team and practices fun. She always has a smile on her face, like Mr. Berge said, and her teammates absolutely love her. She brings great leadership to our team, and no matter what is happening at any given time, she always rolls with the punches, and she's there to support the team and everyone around her. This award could not go to a better person. Congratulations, Leah.
Mr. Berge, next district student of the month, starting with White Deer.
Good evening, board. It's always a privilege to be able to start our Breaking Bread Breakout Student of the Month with White Deer Elementary School. This month, I bring to you King Hunter, who unfortunately could not be here with us this evening. King is a second grade student in Mrs. Hauer's class. Mrs. Hauer wrote that King has improved so much since the beginning of the school year in many ways. He volunteers, he tries his best, he's also very helpful and kind to others. I'm so proud of his accomplishments and what he's learned already this year. King also works with Miss Sakura, who wrote that King frequently puts forth his best effort and works hard in the classroom. He makes excellent use of his paws. He strives to give everything he has and gives 100% in all that he does. King is a wonderful Breaking Bread Award recipient and an example of the outstanding hardworking students at White Deer Elementary School. I wish he was here for you to meet him this evening, but regardless, King Hunter from White Deer Elementary School.
Mrs. Urso, do you want to come up too? Okay. Quinn Herring is a third grader in Mrs. Urso's class. And she, first of all, sat through a much prolonged, I told her, you'll just come, it'll be 15 minutes right at the beginning of the board meeting. We'll get you in and out. You can get back to gymnastics practice, which she's here to receive this award. Well deserved. Quinn always goes, and this is from Mrs. Urso, who is here tonight. Why don't you come up and read it? Go ahead. Come on. You have it. Here you go.
No, I don't think that's, yeah. Meet Quinn, everybody. So, I nominated, oh, this is so loud. I nominated Quinn because she has such a kind heart and she is a Paul's leader in everything she does, not just in the classroom, but when she leaves my room and goes to other areas of our building. I get reports from specialists and other teachers that see her in the hall that she's doing a good job using her Pauls and helping other students and staff when it's needed. I can give you one example. Recently, I went through a situation where a couple students were being unkind to some of the items in my classroom, and something I had treasured had gotten damaged. And Quinn, who had nothing to do with it, she went home feeling really upset for me as her teacher. And so she asked her parents, like, would I be able to send Mrs. Urso a letter or some artwork over Thanksgiving break to maybe cheer her up? And so her mom reached out and got my address, and Quinn mailed me just a beautiful letter with some very beautiful artwork that she made for me and patriotic flags and things. And it really cheered me up and made me happy. And so that's just one of many examples of why Quinn is this month's Breaking Bread recipient for Bacher Elementary. Thank you.
Congratulations, Quinn.
Good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. I'd like to present to you tonight is Gabby Chubb, 8th grade student in Milton Middle School. Gabby is nominated as our December Student of the Month for the middle school, and she is, like the young lady before her, also participating in some extracurricular stuff. So I'm going to make this short and sweet so mom can get her back to dance class. Terry and Danielle, her parents, are here tonight. Mrs. Dobler, the student council advisor, nominated Gabby and had this to say about her. Gabby is one of the most genuine, caring human beings. She is kind, respectful, outgoing, trustworthy, and responsible. She is empathetic and goes out of her way to help peers and adults alike. She's a standout leader in the school community, on the field, and in the classroom, and her example inspires others around her to be better. I seconded that nomination because Gabby is also a part of our student leadership in the middle school, and she meets with me monthly with that team to work on some leadership skills, but also make the middle school a better place. And she is a very important part of that team. And then Mr. Lonzo, our 8 Black language arts teacher, summed it up by saying these wonderful words: great kid, great student. Congratulations, Gabby, to the month. Yeah.
Good evening again, board. We'll finish things off just like everybody else with incredible examples of what it means to be a Milton Black Panther. For the month of December, our Breaking Bread recipient is Yadili Nieves. And Yadili, if you don't know her, she's an extremely shy young lady, but is an incredible student and a young lady in our building. So I got some words from her, so a couple of her teachers about what makes her so special, because we ask our teachers, quite a few of our teachers, we ask each month, like, who would you like to nominate? And Yadili rose to the surface, and they all consistently had the same thing to say about her. So her English teacher, Mrs. Rank, had this to say about her. When asked to nominate a student for the Breaking Bread Citizen of the Month, I immediately thought of Yadili, who exemplifies every aspect of what a good student and citizen should be. Yadili is not only a kind, polite, and attentive young lady, but she is also a student who goes above and beyond all expectations that are put in front of her. My class, she always arrives on time, remains on task or on all tasks in the block, and gives 100% of her effort in everything that she does. Her work also stands out whenever I grade it, as well thought out, and approaches the task critically and with thoughtful analysis. On top of this, when she's absent, I never have to tell her what to do. She gets on her Canvas course, finds out what she has missed, and comes to school the next day with all of her work complete. This dedication to her schoolwork, combined with the pleasant, congenial nature, makes her a pleasure to have in class. Mr. Blair, her world history teacher, had this to say: Yaya is one of the most conscientious, critical thinkers in his class over the past 2 years. She's been able to construct the most difficult arguments while applying 2 parts of candid assessments with 1 part empathy to so many complicated political, economic, and social issues. She presents arguments with utter confidence and is a consummate, quiet professional in all matters. The Breaking Bread Citizen of the Month for the month of December, Yadili Nieves. Congratulations.
All right, next we'll have the Panther Pride Award. Mrs. Harris.
Good evening. This is Mrs. Shanda Marion. Shanda is a life skills aide here at our high school. And I know Mr. Bergey's going to jump in with me here because we literally could not function in a day without Miss Shanda. Miss Shanda has a smile on her face at times that the rest of us just wouldn't. She tolerates things that sometimes I have to take a step back and think, wow, she's doing this all day long and I've only had a 10-minute piece of this. Miss Shanda is always positive. She is a champion for our kids. She encourages them to do the best that they can possibly do. She's always striving to have them, hit the next bar. I can't say enough good things about Shanda. We're very thankful to have her here at Milton. Mr. Bergey.
Yes, to everything Mrs. Harris said and so much more. We get to see what she does on a daily basis. And to say that she goes above and beyond the expectations of normal human beings is an understatement. She works with probably some of the most incredible group of individuals, but at times can be very challenging. And she sees us quite frequently. And like Mrs. Harris said, We're there for a brief period of time, and when we get the opportunity to walk away, we're exhausted, and just in amazement at how Miss Shanda does that every day, all day. And this is what you get. She doesn't complain. She doesn't ever complain. She always has a smile, and her heart for her kids is unmatched. She genuinely loves the kids that she comes in contact with, and it shows. She is an inspiration to me, and I know to everybody else that she works with, to bring that to school every day. We're blessed as educators to work with kids. Ms. Shanda works with an incredible special population that requires an extra level of energy, and she by far surpasses what the average person does in her role. This could not go to a more deserving individual than Ms. Shanda.
I'd like to thank not only the students, but also Ms. Shanda for what you do every day and the impact you have in our buildings every day to make Milton a great place to not only work, but to learn as well. So thank you again. Congratulations. I would ask if there's any comments from visitors on related board agenda items.
I have not received any at this time.
Seeing none, we'll move on. K-12 data presentation.
So I will lead into Courtney. She is going to present to you regarding the Future Ready profile. What I think is important for the board on that is we've talked diving into the data piece for our two new board members. We've looked at kind of where we are. You're going to have tonight is a very brief overview of what Future Ready really is. Why is that important? We have established that as our overarching goal academically in the district. So I think it's important that you understand where does it even come from. So the presentation is in front of you, but Courtney will speak a little bit on where it all comes together.
Good evening, board. Thank you for the opportunity. So some of you may be familiar already with Future Ready PA Index. You may even be familiar with the previous type of school evaluation report card that was known as SPP, School Performance Profile. This essentially is a new and improved version of that, looking at performance beyond test scores. It's looking at student performance, student growth, student achievement, college and career readiness measures, and things like that. So this was launched in November of 2018. I also listed the website there. Some of you may have already dived into this a little bit previously. As I mentioned, it looks at not only school success, but student success through academics, progress that students make in various areas, and college and career readiness. So the most obvious measures that we have looked at, often at board meetings and just within leadership are state assessment measures through PSSAs and the Keystone exams, looking at proficiency and advanced scores on those, as well as meeting growth expectations through PVOS, which is an evaluation system that also measures growth and not just where the students actually landed, where they scored, but did they grow from year to year. We actually had some consultations with a PVOS individual right before Thanksgiving break, and we dove really deeply into the PVOS system and the reports that are available to us to see where we are as far as student growth and not just where the students actually landed once they tested in those areas. The on-track measures that we look at are English language proficiency. We look at chronic absenteeism, and also in a rare instance, we provide local assessment information for students in grade 3 and grade 7 early indicators, students that we could evaluate using something other than the PSSA or the PASA for special ed students. College and career measures, we look at things that are listed here: graduation rates. Students that are in grades 5, 8, and 11, we take a look at where they are in terms of career readiness. They have to produce certain numbers of pieces of evidence to indicate that they are preparing for careers beyond high school. We look at industry-based credentials that students earn, work-based experiences that they have while they're in high school. We look at the courses that students are taking, courses of rigor. So we report things such as students in AP courses, students that are taking courses at Bloomsburg, Penn College, Luzerne. And also we evaluate or collect data on students that once they graduate, what their transition plan, whether it's school, military, or work. So some of the key takeaways, again, this is a more comprehensive look at how schools are performing, not just test scores, but we look at the whole student, the whole school. We look at beyond where they, how they test. Are they growing? Are they achieving within those subject areas? It allows us to take a look at special interest groups such as special ed, English language learners, economically disadvantaged, for example, to see how those groups are performing. It breaks down on the main dashboard basic demographic information about the district, and then you can also select by school. You can compare multiple schools. So if you wanted to compare neighboring schools, schools that have similar demographics as Milton. And there are statewide goals for the year 2033 that every LEA, local educating entity in the Commonwealth, are held to coming up in 2033, such as graduation rate and proficiency in advanced on-state assessments. So where does all this data come from? This gets submitted to the PIM system, which is what I do. So the whole slide, for example, on the college and career readiness, all of that is data that I collect throughout the year and submit that to the system. Then it generates reports to see, how many fifth graders have met the career readiness benchmarks. We can break it down if we see that students aren't meeting it. Why aren't they? What do we need to do to get them to improve? So all of these data collections occur throughout the year. So it's really important that that's accurate. So I work very closely with all of the building level principals, guidance counselors, many more, but just to ensure that the data that we have in our system is correct so that what I submit is correct. That way, when the releases come out for Future Ready, there really are no surprises. We know what we submitted, it's right there, and we made changes as we needed to, or saw where there were gaps and where we need to improve. Are there any questions?
So again, to the board, this is the overview. We will dive a little bit more into our own data at our own buildings, what that looks like, but I thought it was important. Publicly, we kind of review what this looks like and where the points of consideration come in. So anything specific at this time from the board?
So you have how the data was collected
Correct.
and what we do with it.
Correct.
And we see what the findings are.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna begin next month now with the details of how Future Ready looks in our worlds at each building.
So then each time there's new data ran and new information being given, we also be given.
Our intent is as much, every meeting, a piece of data on this. So, and we can, as we evolve and we share with you, if there are specific questions that come out based on certain things for each of the, down like future meetings where you want additional information based on something you've heard, we'll do that.
Okay.
We're gonna.
Courtney, this stuff is posted online, correct?
It is, yep. FutureReadyPA.org. Yep.
At any time.
November 8th, it went public. Thank you.
Yeah.
November
Mentioned
8th.
it's like a dashboard kind of look, like you can click. I think it'll ask you if you're a parent, a student, a teacher, and then it'll give you access to that data. So yes, you can start looking at that.
It can be overwhelming though when you dive in. There's a lot of information there.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Moving on, I almost asked where Lindsay was, but Blocker Playground.
Blocker Playground update. I told you last time we would have some information regarding what the stage of the playground will be, beginning the tentative start date of demolition and putting the playground together will be April 15th. They have estimated 60 days for full completion. Mr. Slater, Mr. Decker, Mr. Hoffman, myself, the goal there in our minds is if Get those 60 days, that takes you maybe to July 4th with a little delay, or even if it's 90 days, we're still mid-July. Whole point is we don't want to be at the last minute with the playground coming into the school year. So that encompasses everything from removal of old equipment to construction of everything to the pour in place. So I think we feel there will be a little bit of an issue when it comes to April 15th because school is still going on and what we can do at the playground. But we all decided there's more than enough space for a month of school, month and a half, to ensure we have the playground ready to go for our kindergarten through third graders beginning in 2020, August of 24. So that's the reality of it. That's the time frame. It's going to happen, and we're going to do a groundbreaking.
So there's been no change since the last schematic.
No change to schematics. We added those swings. Kept everything else, but it's exciting. I think it's going to be, for a community standpoint, it's going to be, for many people, it's what they'll see of the project because they aren't always in the buildings. So I think it'll be pretty exciting for our community.
Great, thank you. Moving on, approval of minutes. To make a motion to approve items 5.A and 5.B.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Moving on, executive report. Make a motion to approve items listed under 6.A through 6.B. 1.
Second.
Should I second? Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance.
Yes.
Thank you. Finance Committee, Mr. Moser.
Yes, I'd like to make this motion in a form of a block vote for items 7A through 7B.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion to second. Any discussion or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Harris,
No.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
No.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
No.
Mrs. Waldron,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance,
Yes.
Mr. Fry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything additional this evening?
Yes, I'd just like to pose a question here as to why we're receiving no votes on these items. Anybody care to elaborate for the good of the order?
My no vote is based on some of the bills that we're paying and not getting much information back in return as to why we're paying it.
Are you asking?
I have asked different times, yes. I
I
disagree
think they're
with,
for public. I think it's public knowledge. I mean, can you read?
yeah. Mhm. I don't think we need to pay media relations $2,886.
Oh,
It's
because
been
you don't
made-
like them.
It's been made public.
Yeah,
Has
yeah.
nothing to do with whether I like them. I think the school district can handle some of the media relations.
Yeah, a
I
lot
don't
of
think we have
personal
to
stuff.
be. I sat at the CTE meeting and there was some very good videos made by some of our school employees. I'm assuming students. So we have the capability of doing it here and not have to be paying for it.
I believe that we
outside.
had presentations on that multiple times.
And I'm still entitled to my opinion.
And for what it's worth.
I will share with the board that the contract that was agreed upon with media relations, we have really tried to stay true to over the 10 months, keeping it within that budget as well. There's been some things we have shifted and done differently to ensure we're staying in that range of the budget. We've been intentional about that.
Okay, Mr. Hosterman, may I add something just to further clarification on this? in the future, if Dr. Strasser, you only spoke to it, but if the other board members who voted no are in agreement with that being the sticking point, I would just ask that that piece be taken out of the block vote, so that way we can accurately vote on the rest of the items. Because it's
I was just gonna bring that point up. That way, in the future, if you have an issue with a line item, please bring that up so we can separate it out, because I'm getting a lot of confusion as to why we're not voting. Everybody's in favor of paying our bills. That a lot of these are contractually obligated. So if there's like a line item that you'd like to pull out, please ask to pull that out so we can
And-
discuss that one and vote separately.
And just to follow, I did have a conversation with Attorney Wiley just regarding that item. And should there be a block vote where there is more no's than yeses voted for, we would then go back and ask for a removal of that one item that's voted no, and then we have to vote again. So if we know ahead of time, it can save us just a little bit of time and confusion. So, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Mr. Mosley.
Can I ask too, when we review these bills, sometimes the line items has very brief descriptions.
Mhm.
Like I think last month there was a bill for earplugs.
Mhm.
Is there a way to have more detail than just that we're paying?
Yeah, you can reach out. In fact, Mr. Harris reached out, and I believe that was shared with all of the board.
Yeah, it was shared after I sent the response.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, certainly you can reach out. That communication should go through the superintendent and the board president, who would then decide which team of the administrative staff would be the one to fulfill that. In the case of bills, that would typically be me, but the best way to do that would be working through superintendent and then board president. They can direct it, information come back up through them, and then go out to the entirety of the board. But that's not a problem at all.
And this is another example, I think, of our board focusing in on committee work sessions, different times to allow that committee to be more educated or more clear. So even when questions come up, they are directly linked to that. So that's going to be one of my goals, in moving us forward.
Is there a way to set like an amount that, let's just say, for instance, we're spending more than $1,000. Can we get more detail? If it's not kind of a given, I mean, when you see the sewer bill, you expect it to be a couple $1,000s, a light bill, a couple $1,000s. But if there's something that's $2,000 or $3,000, is there a way to get more detail without having to send all these emails back and forth? Just set an amount?
I mean, we can certainly look at doing that. That would be require some manual processing, because all of these are automated reports that come right now, and there's only a certain amount of space for those descriptions. All of these items that are voted upon have already been approved by the board when the budget was passed. These are budgeted items being purchased. So while we do bring them here for the board to vote on to then release the checks, there is still some school code and board policy that would allow those bills to be processed and paid. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that go out monthly. Like, we can certainly look at it, but a lot of them are going to be recurring regular costs. So perhaps if the board felt as a group that this is something that really needed to be done for additional detail for some of the items, I think that it might be better to just, maybe share the things that you're concerned about, and then we'll go in and look at it, rather than having to manually go through and every $1,000 above purchase be something that we look at. But I will follow Dr. Bickhart's lead and as far as his directive on what he'd like to see. So I think that as a board, this will probably be a good discussion to have, and then I would just leave it up to their discretion.
Do you review them at all before you send them out to us?
View what?
Do you review what's included in those invoices? And
Every single bill that gets paid by this district gets approved by me at the end.
So is it possible then, instead of just including maybe a copy of it, that maybe you can highlight or annotate ones that fall within the spectrum, that may be outliers that aren't included with an already approved project? I get it that it's within a budget, but that budget includes millions and multiple projects and departments. I think I've emailed you a couple of times about certain things that are just outliers that we may not catch, that are high ticket items that may raise a flag.
Sure. I would again direct that to Dr. Bickhart, because at that point you're now managing my tasks and responsibilities, and that to me isn't the role of a board member. I think the board member should be focusing on bigger picture. And while I certainly appreciate the concern, and I will do whatever Dr. Bickhart requests and the board president decides is the right way to go, I will avoid just jumping in and saying I'm going to commit to promising to go through every single line of expenditures. I have other tasks that have to be done.
And I think that's an important piece of Mr. Hosterman, Dr. Weaver, and I initially sitting down and kind of looking at those protocols and communication pieces and how we're going to do that. So I think that could be a priority for us to begin there.
Yeah, and for now, if there's a line item question, don't be afraid to reach out and ask. Okay, moving on. Item 8, to make a motion for approval of 8.A. Second. Motion is second. Any discussion or questions? Roll call vote.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else this evening there? Item 9, Mr. Moser, would you mind taking this one?
This first I'm asking, anybody wants to separate it out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Which item would you like separated?
9A.
9A? Okay, I'm gonna make this motion a form of a block vote for items 9B and 9C.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, secondly, I'd like to make this a motion in form of a roll call vote, items 9A.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
No.
Mrs. Waldron,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
No.
Mr. Hosterman.
No.
Mr. Hunt.
No.
Thank you. That was 5 yeses to 4 nos.
Anything additional this evening under athletics?
That's it this evening. Thank you.
Nothing listed under educational technology? Anything to add? Moving on to item 11, personnel, Dr. Weaver.
To make a motion for a block vote for 11A, even including 11H, unless anyone would like any item separated.
I'd like to separate 11G.
Okay. So amend my motion to 11A, 11H, excluding 11G.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions, discussion. This is a block vote excluding letter 11.G. Roll call vote.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mr. Moser.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion for item 11G.
Second.
Motion is second. Questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Waldron,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman.
No.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything additional this evening?
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Legislative and Policy Committee, Dr. Strasser.
I'd like to make a motion for a block vote for 12A.
12A is a discussion piece. I'll jump there, apologize. What we want to do there, we had talked last week, our last meeting about that being the first reading of the attendance. I asked Mrs. Girton to just with our 2 new board members review, because that was a major discussion we had as a board. We're not going to do the second reading of it until January to ensure everybody's clear, but I wanted her to highlight some of the key points because that was an important policy we were adjusting. Sorry to interrupt there.
Thank you. So, near the end of last school year, some concerns were raised not only by board members, but parents in the community about our attendance processes. One piece of it was when the district was initiating our school attendance improvement plans, known as SAFE, and also the maximum number of days that a student could be absent prior to the need for doctor's excuses. In a review of school code and our ability to work within our current policy. The school attendance improvement plans were moved only to students with unexcused or unlawful absences, and were no longer being done for students that had a combination of excused absences and unexcused absences, completely just excused absences. So that was a procedural change that we were able to implement this school year under our current policy. The changes that are in front of the board right now are policy changes, and the first one would be found on page 2, and that is removing the job title of Director of Education. The line is proposed to read, "The superintendent or designee shall be responsible for the implementation and enforcement of this policy." So we will strike from the current policy in coordination with the Director of Education. That job is vacated, and the plan is not to replace the position. Page 3, there was previous language indicating that obtaining professional healthcare or therapy services rendered by a licensed practitioner of the healing art. That is quite a wide umbrella to see as far as who would be able to, under policy, excuse a student from school. So the recommendation from our leadership team is to change that to a licensed medical professional. So again, the recommendation is to strike practitioner of the healing arts, and the line would therefore read, "Obtaining professional healthcare or therapy service rendered by a licensed medical professional in any state, commonwealth, or territory." The area where we had the most discussion can be found on page 4 of 7, and that is with regard to the maximum number of excused days allowable. And what the recommendation is that a parent will be able to have their child miss cumulative amount of 10 days, so that has not changed with the current policy, but will be added is that any days where a doctor's excuse or a licensed medical professional provides an absence coverage, like a doctor's note, that that absence will not count towards the 10 days that can be approved by the parent. So we had several different options on the table: increase it to 15 days, increase it to 17 days, pull out educational field trips, allow a certain number of days to the parent, don't count field trips, count field trips. And the final recommendation from our leadership team is to allow the parent 10 days of absences if within that time you are able to get a doctor's excuse if your child's sick, needs time out of school, 3 days, 4 days, with a doctor's excuse, that those days would not count against the parent's ability to call the child off and provide a written excuse. So the new language is a maximum of 10 days of cumulative lawful absences verified by parental notification shall be permitted during a school year. All absences beyond 10 cumulative days shall require an excuse from a licensed medical professional. Any absences with a note from a licensed medical professional approved by the building principal will not count towards the 10 days of the parent-approved absences. The second piece of that is the feedback from the principals is the documentation provided by some parents from the doctor's offices have been very vague, indicating that the student may not have been seen, that the parent called in. So the additional language that is noted underneath includes what the principals would like in the doctor's note excusing the student from school: the name of the student, the date the student was seen by the medical professional, the date of the absence, and the expected return date. Obviously, that date can change. Certainly, if your child is better prior to that date, they can return. And if that date needs extended, then we would need an additional note from the medical professional. Additionally, if the child is coming in late or an excused tardy or leaving for an excused early dismissal, the recommendation for the policy change, again, is that the name of the student is included on the note, the name of the doctor and or the office, and the date and time of the appointment. So those are the recommended changes.
Yeah, and as I said, we're not looking for second reading tonight. So if you need to, there's questions, we can answer them now. If you need time just to look over and we can ask questions next time as well.
A question.
Sure.
The 10 days, are we including educational trips that are approved by the district those 10 days?
Yes. So if a parent decides to go on a trip for 5 days or 10 days, they have just exhausted their 10 days and would be on doctor's notes.
Even if the school approves it first?
Correct. With the current language.
And that's can be discussed. We were trying to keep some level of not going too far with how many days a parent can just say their child's not coming. But I think that the way to think about this is our practice has been anything in that 1 to 10. If 3 of them were a doctor's note and 7 were the parent, right? At that point, you were still required to have a doctor's note because you got to the 10 cumulative. We're pulling back from that and allowing doctor's notes to speak for themselves, but still keeping 10 as that number of call-ins. And it could be we're going on a trip. So by all means, it can be discussed, but we went back to the table and said, based on the feedback, how much is too much to have too much leniency on just phone calls or trips? We're able to have 10 days of 18. We exceed that, then we are not. Thank you. By that number. Making sure that hearing that. So take some time with it and we'll come back to it next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie.
Sorry. So I guess we just need a motion for a vote for 12B.
Sorry.
Apologize.
Okay, we just need a motion for a vote for 12B for legislative policy.
So moved. Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion, questions? Let's call vote.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Rance,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Hosterman,
Yes.
Mr. Hunt,
Yes.
Mr. Moser,
Yes.
Dr. Strasser,
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron.
Yes.
CSIU 16 report, Dr. Weaver.
So the CSIU program highlight last month was Yes to the Future, 8 internships, an employer perspective. So there are opportunities subsidized by the IU for paid internships in partnership with local businesses. And we heard from a local business about how that benefited the student as well as the local business and provided an educational experience for future employment for one of our young adults. In addition, you'll see on, well, I'm not going to steal anyone's thunder from grants and donations, but we'll hear about another interesting event through grants and donations. And Way-Run School District did the video with WBRE. We also have the opportunity to do a 30-second commercial that I hope we'll be reaching out to do.
Yeah, we are in discussion with Dr. Burkle about that video.
Great. That's all for this evening.
Thank you. Secretary of Correspondence, Mr. Fink.
As Dr. Weaver alluded to, we received a donation from the Central Susquehanna Intermediate Union They donated $10,000 to the Milton Area School District, and the goal is to use the funds for staff wellness. And that is all that I have for grants and donations for the month.
Okay. Need a motion to accept Secretary's report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Superintendent's report, Dr. Bickhart.
Thank you, Mr. Osterman. Our students, was there a report you were going to give tonight? So I'm going to let you guys talk a little bit. I don't want to skip that. So I'll have, while that's going up, they're ready. So
We'll just do
maybe I'll turn it over to you and Violet.
For academics this month, we have the CTE rotations that just happened for the 9th grade students on November 16th. And that's where the 9th graders spent the afternoons in the CTE classrooms, which exposed all of the freshmen to the programs that we offer. And then course scheduling also began this week, and it will be running through December 22nd. And then there is also courses this year that we are offering to students that we haven't offered in the past couple years. Keystone testing will be approaching in January, and end of the marking period 2 and semester 1 is also approaching in January on the 16th. And then the learning lab is running daily, Monday through Thursday after school for extra help in math, English, and science.
For the arts, National Art Honor Society will be helping at Bacher Paint Night on Tuesday, December 19th. Students painted the front windows of Dig Furniture Store, and that is the arts. Oh, and of course, on December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, the drama department hosted White Christmas, our winter musical. The cast performed 4 shows, 1 Friday, 2 Saturday, and 1 Sunday. And the show was a holiday hit that was enjoyed by many people.
Sports, the winter sports season has now begun, and we have girls basketball, boys basketball, our co-ed varsity bowling team, cheerleading, and then our co-ed varsity swimming team, and then boys and girls wrestling.
The Snow Dance, our winter formal, will be held Sunday, January 14th at the Watson Inn. The Snow Dance is sponsored by the National Honor Society, and tickets go on sale January 4th. $15 for individual, $25 for a couple, and $10 for members.
And then social this month, we have the Panther Press is holding a trivia night on Wednesday, December 6th. So tomorrow at 7:30 in the high school Lit Cafe. And registration is $10 for a team up to 4 middle school and high school students. And there'll be light refreshments provided, and prizes include gift cards and a 3-month membership to the YMCA. And then all members who entered will also be entered into a special bonus of a Challenge a Teacher raffle, which will have additional prizes and potential for fame and glory.
Also with social this month, we have our door decorating contest. The categories are Christmas movie classics, tacky, most festive, and best overall. The final judging will be Friday, December 15th by student representatives, and baskets for winning prize times will be given out the following Monday.
And then the student representatives for that as well, because one student council member from each grade just randomly selected, they volunteered to do that. So it'll be a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior that vote on that. And then for our Spirit Week, we're just doing this the week leading up to break just to get a little extra holiday spirit. So Monday, we're doing a pajama day. Tuesday, we're doing a rap versus rapper. So like a Christmas present versus like a rapper. And then Wednesday, we're doing an ugly sweater day. Thursday is grandma or grandpa got ran over by a reindeer. And then Friday, we're going to do like a grade war. So the seniors will be Santas, juniors will be elves, sophomores, reindeer, and freshmen, snowmen. And that's all we have for this month.
Great, thank you, ladies.
So continuing, I think it's important to note in that with White Christmas, if you did see it, and if you didn't, you missed an amazing show. It was fantastic. Violet was the main stage manager, correct? Am I getting the
I am
correct?
the student stage manager for our drama department.
And it was neat at the end when they recognized the seniors on Sunday afternoon to listen to the accolades and all the effort she has put specifically into those programs. So very exciting, amazing show. What our kids do is incredible. So a lot of fun to watch. That's one thing I want to report on. I'll also add, we are still continuing to post our meetings online. We are a little bit backlogged. I know Mr. Hunt, we had talked about that. It takes a little bit of time till you get everything organized, the amount of time it takes to upload, but if the intent is there to get them there, we just got to get them up there. I'm going to put the website up really quick. I want to point two things out to the board and the public that are important. We've got work to do still on the website, but if you look at that, the Pinpoint Wellness Center is still there. Please know that on that, we updated the calendar. We were behind on that. We got that updated, but we also have out there, and we will be pushing forward with January 1 being when the new year starts for enrollment, and trying to get people to enroll and be part of the Pinpoint Wellness Center. So if you click on that, you will see kind of a graphic, join the PWC right there, pops up, talking to people about what they need to do. We're scheduling some evenings going forward that people can get involved. Okay, so that's that piece. The other piece I'm excited about, I don't know, I think it's as a parent, but I've always going to the website and trying to get to an event, and when are things happening in each building, and when are, even athletics, what you have there. There's a calendar tab. There are 4 areas in the calendar tab. There's the academic calendar pops up immediately in both English and Spanish. And then the 2 things that I'm really excited about on there are an events calendar and then the athletic. What that is now is you go to our main website as a parent, 1 click, really, because you hover over calendars, you click events. We are combining all the building events into 1 calendar as much as possible, so a parent knows this is what's going on at Bogger. We had the musical on there. We're going to try and do a better job of bringing that together. The athletics one simply takes you directly to the composite calendar of the week we're on. And he's clicking on it there, the week we're on when it comes to athletics in the district. So it's a click on that and give the composite count. It's been in, okay. Composite calendar, what is today, December 5th? So it'll say something like December 5th to December 10th. So just simple little things. Hopefully that's a little bit easier access for parents. We are, speaking of the calendar, working on the next school year calendar. I stated this last year, very open to feedback from the board, feedback from the students, community. We'll be using our students here, our staff to gain feedback on what worked in this past calendar. I did share with the board today data that really, the week off was the same as, there was no statistical data that showed more teachers I think it was exactly the same amount of teachers when I counted it, 25 and 25, and actually less students were out this Monday than they would have been the Tuesday when we came back last year, because I know that was a big conversation of having a whole week off at Thanksgiving. So, but open to that conversation, so please share that. The last thing, 2 things. We talked about access funding. That will be part of our board presentations. I know that was something Ms. Kessler was, had a lot of questions. We actually sat with her before she left, went over some of the things she was asking. So we do have that, and where that money comes from as part of our it'll be inside the budget presentation. So the board's aware of where that money comes from and how we're doing that. So just wanted to be clear on that. And the last thing, does it work? So I think it's pretty neat. Hopefully this works. Yeah. 6 of our board members are Milton graduates. So here you go. Walk back in time. There you are. Oh my. Thanks. Great. Oh, Kevin. I would love to know, I think that's impressive that 6 of our members who given back that graduated from here. I think that's pretty neat. So
They had yearbooks.
So I am going to be, if any of please don't say no, but we want to get this out on social media. I think it's important to celebrate our people, but if you're really opposed to it, let me know. We want to share that this is who we want to start a thing where it's about the history of Milton, taking some things from yearbooks and sending that out to the public to celebrate who we are over the years. So that's a fun one to end on. Thank you, Mr. Osterman. I'm done.
Thank you. Before we move on to board comments, I did receive a comment from 3 young ladies who, at this point, if they've hung with us this long, I think we'll let you speak, ladies. So this is Kaylee, I think Zoe. Zoe? And Elena regarding the girls wrestling coach.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Louise Cromley. This is Kylie Fix and Elena Graham. We are here on behalf of the girls wrestling team, which consists of myself, Louise Cromley, Kylie Fix, Elena Graham, Adeline Bush, Cage Farr, Cadence O'Grady, Abby Wright, and Miranda Garcia. Adeline Bush, who unfortunately couldn't come today, would like to say, as an athlete as well as a wrestler, I am open to all ways of teaching and learning new technique. Open to people critiquing me or helping through, though there is a sense of comfort that comes with coach we have been working with. Teaching styles vary and I'm opening to give it a whirl. But at times, if there isn't a good athlete-coach chemistry, it doesn't make a good time as good as a time. As much as I enjoy giving new things a try, I would prefer somebody that I know coaching style, chemistry, and that they know what we need. We are here to say that we would prefer Coach LJ Fix because we have previously practiced with him. He's coached us at Keystone qualifiers and other tournaments. We have a pre-established coach-athlete relationship. He pushes us to do the best we can, and we are comfortable with him. We are not disregarding anybody else that wants to be that is running for the coaching position. We are just here to state our preference. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. That's very brave of you. So sorry we missed this at the beginning of the meeting, but I'm glad you were able to speak at the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, girls.
Mr. Osterman, I'm sorry, we did not get a motion to accept the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So moved. Is there a second?
Yep.
All those in favor, voice vote, please. Aye. Aye. You need this back.
Yes, please.
Any comments from board members?
I have a comment. Since we missed listening to the young ladies in the beginning of the meeting, which could have affected how the vote went for the wrestling coach, is it our due diligence to reopen that vote and do it again, or no?
I would say the vote's already been cast.
Votes have been cast.
Yeah. Any other-
Question regarding the website updates. Who's doing the updates for us?
So right now, it is a combination of people, but specifically Brenda and Elaine Stauder we're working really through that area. I will say it, and I'll keep saying it, we need a complete overhaul. So we can figure a way to manage parts of that website, and that's what we're doing, trying to get into, but it still needs a full out overhaul. It's
not very
it's it's pieced together still, but we're using, you can see we're using that main banner to maximize what we can right now.
As a parent, I'd like to ask for a school lunch calendar, be added to the calendars tab. Because
good idea.
Now that they're in middle school, it's a little different, but back in elementary school, I was always trying to navigate that website to find the document link, school lunch calendar.
Okay. No, just good idea. No, that's fine. That's what people go for. They go for event. They want to know the certain things they're looking for. So we're trying to maximize that. That's great. That's what I wanted.
What's the lunch question?
Yeah.
Give me 15 minutes.
I agree.
Any other comments?
Feedback for scheduling for next year. Did get some feedback in terms of the turnaround time between the end of the marking period and when parent-teacher conferences were held.
Yes.
Staff didn't feel like they had a lot of time in some instances.
Day, so especially elementary. We're asking for a little bit more time to prepare.
Great feedback.
So the Halloween thing.
Yeah. Okay. Anything additional?
Remember that.
Ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Opposed?
Merry Christmas, everyone. You and Jay. Yes. Back for.